Joining us now is what a treat. Julian Walker, Dean Emeritus of the Capitol Press Corps. Julian, good to have you with us.
Good morning. As I said earlier, I'm just some guy, and as someone who has spent considerable amount of time in New York and has some Mets fans in my family, I can feel for Aaron. So let's keep it all friendly and civil.
No, I hate the Mets. Okay, but thanks for being here. Julian. Let me just tell you the Julian Walker story. If I may, very quick intro. Julian spent a number of years as the Capitol correspondent for the Richmond Times-Dispatch and then the Virginian Pilot. When he was at the Pilot, he had a blog, and it was called Pilot on Politics. And it was I'm telling you, this was the blog in Virginia. Andrew knows. Andrew's shaking his head.
It was where you went for news.
It's where you went. And we don't have anything like that now. But I got up. I had a ritual. I got up at 3:30. I put the coffee on. I brewed it, and I went to Julian's blog, and that was my day's show. Basically, at 3, and he would be posting stuff at midnight. The guy never slept worse than me. And the guy had everything was going on was on that blog. Since he left the Pilot, that's not been able to be replicated because it's too much work, and there's nothing that rivals that.
He was really the last great investigative political reporter that the Commonwealth has seen.
Yes.
I think people call that obsessive compulsive and anal retentive.
Oh, you told me that one time, but it was just great journalism.
It was good writing.
I know. He worked himself to death.
He was a very good reporter.
He was the best. He was the best because he had all the insight, and he talked to everybody.
Now we have to tune into John Fredericks.
I know. I got to get
who has cornered the market, and
Julie,
let me just do my little bow.
Thank you.
As I said to you off air, you called it. You had the foresight that very few people did.
In America, numero uno. Thank you very much. Your accolades accepted and encouraged. Thank you. The next topic here. What were we talking about? Let's go to the lieutenant governor's race.
Yes.
On the Republican side. By the way, in your absence, Julian, our panel was unanimous in saying that Justin Fairfax was going to beat Eileen Filler-Corn. If you want to weigh in on that, go ahead.
Well, I think I know both of them, and I like and respect both of them. I think that Justin, in particular, really had an impressive showing the last go-around. I think he ran a race much closer to Attorney General Mark Herring for the nomination than a lot of people expected. And so I think he has put himself in a position to really capitalize on that. So I don't know about handicapping it, but certainly I think Justin Fairfax has surprised a lot of people and continues to do so. Okay, so who's your pick right now? Who's going to win, Rossi, Filler-Corn, or Fairfax? As I said, I'm not in a position to handicap, but I do think that Justin Fairfax has had an impressive showing so far since he arrived on the Virginia statewide political scene. Very good political answer. Interpretation.
Your next press secretary.
Interpretation, Justin Fairfax. Okay, let's get the Republican side. Very interesting lieutenant governor's race. Now, this week, what's today, Wednesday?
Yes.
So it's Monday night. I had dinner with Senator Vogel in Upperville, Virginia. Ever been to Upperville?
At her home?
Yes, not at her home. We went to the Hogshead or something. Very nice little town, about 20 minutes out of Winchester, and got a little insight in her campaign. Now, she has hired as her campaign manager Rollin Reisinger, a nice young fella. I respect her because you'll know Rollin. He's Rollin, but he was kind of blackballed when he ran the Stimson campaign. And then Tom Garrett hired him, gave him a shot. Tom Garrett fired him and hired Zach. And when you get fired by Tom and you hire Zach, that's not a good thing. So, but she gave him a shot. And she's raising a lot of money. She's got a lot of money. Even if she doesn't raise the money, write one check, that's done.
Money's not an issue for anyone on the Republican side in this nominating process.
So she's got a formidable campaign. She's in other candidates, Reeves, and
Glenn Davis,
House of Delegates member, Virginia Beach. How do you guys see this shaping up? Let's start with Aaron.
Well, it's interesting because the front runner right now, I think by a hair, is Senator Vogel. She's starting to get some Tea Party support, as well as utilization of a lot of her contacts around the Commonwealth and the establishment. But Bryce has a similar narrative going on, and I think Bryce is perceived as being a little bit better on guns than her. Now, the thing that I will say is there has been some back and forth by proxy and attacks going on between Vogel's camp and Bryce's camp. So if that were to continue and escalate, then you might actually have a path for Glenn Davis from Virginia Beach. And that's what did that happen in 1997 in the Attorney General's race, where the two frontrunners took each other out, and then you had Mark Earley came in second. No, Mark Earley won, and then Gary Kilgore came in second. And then the history of Virginia politics changed a little bit in the 8 years after that. So
wouldn't that also be what happened in the Democratic primary in 2009 between Moran and McAuliffe beating each other up, and then Cray Deed sneaks in?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I would say this, just as a sort of observation, and it's really anecdotal, is I get a lot of mail from Glenn Davis. It's sort of similar to the old adage, signs don't vote, emails don't vote. But I will tell you, I'm on the mailing list of all three candidates, and the one I receive the most correspondence from is Glenn. Now, whether or not that means anything, I don't know, but it suggests a level of activity. And I would also say, sort of, again, observationally, just from what I see on the chatter on social media, I see a lot of activity from Glenn. That may be indicative of nothing, but it's just an interesting observation.
Glenn has really impressed me. We talked to Glenn last year at the Homestead at the GOP Advance, and I left there thinking, I like the guy. He's a hard worker, but he just needs to know a little bit more. He hasn't really been around long enough to do this. He came back here and talked to us at the co-ops, and one of the big issues where the co-ops really try to take the lead is rural broadband. And we told him that then. He came back here, and he had studied up. He knew his stuff. He was well-versed. And I left the second meeting much more impressed than I did at the first meeting, and thinking this guy is a quick read. He is doing what he needs to do. He's getting around the state, and he's learning, and there's enough time that he can be a serious player in this race.
Well, you've got to look at a couple things, and one that.
By the way, this is former House of Delegates member Chris Saxman. Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, John. The Creed Deeds victory in 2009 was really facilitated by the Washington Post endorsement. I think
of Deeds.
I think that was the game changer for the Creed Deeds. I don't know if there's that in this election. This is a ground game. This is where the pressing of the flesh and looking people in the eye and listening to their concerns at the local committee level and having people validate what you're doing, a la what Aaron said on guns. Not necessarily is going to be a make or break in this election. You never can tell. Winning might be the make or break. It might be to say, we need a winning ticket. Who's going to be our winning ticket this year? We're going to be running against a Trump backlash, if you will. The Republicans didn't do well in the state. They lost Northern Virginia by over 300,000 votes. So you've got to penetrate that Northern Virginia market if you plan on winning. And mapping out a game plan to win is a legitimate selling point for any of these candidates. How can you win in Northern Virginia and the Urban Crescent and still hold rural votes?
So, Chris, to that point, wouldn't that help Vogel? Right, because
she can make the sale. Bryce Reeves can make that sale. Glenn Davis can get up there and make that sale. If you have to have a plan of action, execute that plan, and go committee by committee and say, this is how we intend on winning in the general, and people are going to go, I'm going to buy that one, and that's what it comes down to.
So could we agree? Okay, and if you look at Northern Virginia,
structurally, I think Jill Vogel has the advantage because she's from up there. She's from Northern Virginia. She's a business person, lawyer. She's wealthy. She will connect well with that constituency in Northern Virginia. But does that matter in the Republican primary? Yet to be seen.
Right.
And you talked about winning, John. Optics matter as well. You look at how well or poorly we did this past election, having three white guys on the ticket against a diverse Democratic ticket. You know that you're going to have either Justin Fairfax or Eileen Filler-Corn, so automatically you either have a female or a minority. Right. Jill brings that to the ticket, something we don't have.
Well, the other thing is on the Republican ballot, there's going to be, 4, 7, 10 candidates, one female, no African Americans.
Right. Well, and to that point, you're looking at, and this is a mistake some people make when they're analyzing these races as if they're individual races. The down ticket races like Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, your task for any of the campaigns is to eat through the $5 to $10 million that's going to be spent on the airwaves in the governor's race, and money actually means a lot more in the down ticket races than it does in the governor's race because you're having to overcome people being less aware of your race. So Jill, being a woman, has the ability to stand out more on her own, and if she outraises, which she has the capability of outraising both of them combined, I think. So I think she gets in the front runner slot because of that, because money means more.
But as far as money goes, it is changing so dramatically in politics today. Donald Trump won without a lot of money. Let's be honest. He won through social media. He pounded his opponents publicly. He had so much free and earned media. If a candidate is going to raise all this money, if they're not hiring staff to be in those districts and those committee meetings every day and engaging online and social media, you're losing. If you're spending that much money on direct mail, you're losing. You have to have direct contact with the customers, with your voters out there. That's the market.
And it needs to be authentic. That was one of the things.
Completely authentic. Donald Trump was authentic. Bernie Sanders was authentic.
That's why people read it.
You're
People
right.
don't read tweets to see a campaign staffer post a picture of somebody on a podium giving a speech.
No,
they
who
want to see
cares?
what Donald Trump said. They want to see what any of these folks are saying firsthand, what they had for lunch, what do they think about.
Be real.
Yes.
Don't say, here's my slick 4-color piece with my family and I'm pro-gun and pro-life and cha-cha-cha. It gets you to a certain point, but it doesn't make the sale.
All right, so
if I may, though,
go ahead.
and this is just an academic question.
by the way, this is Julian Walker, and he is what title did we give you? Dean Emeritus of the Capitol Press Corps. Go ahead, Julian.
So I just my question becomes, and Chris, you mentioned whether or not there will sort of be a backlash, and I've heard some Republican friends of mine even say we're concerned about 2017 being sort of the first opportunity for Democrats who are upset with the election outcome to really vent and express that frustration at the ballot box. I think that remains to be seen. But to the notion of authenticity, I guess my question is that something that any old candidate can capture, or is that something that is unique to a particular candidate? I think Donald Trump captured something. I think his playbook will be replicated by candidates down the line, but can everyone pull that off in much the same way that, Obama, 4 and 8 years ago was something of an anomalous candidate, someone who was, Andrew and I have discussed this before about the prospects of any statewide candidate on the Republican side from rural Virginia, whether or not someone who doesn't have that base of vote-rich regions within their sort of natural constituency, can they do that? And I think Andrew and I both agreed that it has to be sort of that once-in-a-lifetime lightning-in-a-bottle candidate. And so the question is, does authenticity just as a tag work, or do you actually have to have the charisma and the personality to back that up?
I think you have to have that to back that up. But authenticity is something you just can't make up. You can't, hey, I'm going to be authentic this year. That's just inauthentic. The most authentic person in politics I have ever met, who listens with the most authentic presence, is Tim Kaine. And what I didn't do in this campaign intentionally was watch any of the debates, including the vice presidential debate. I would watch what people watched and their responses just to see how the game was playing out. And what I couldn't understand about Tim Kaine in his debate performance was why he was the attack dog. Tim Kaine is authentically a defense attorney. He's not the guy who's going to make the prosecution. He's not going to make that. And so, to your point, Julian, when you're out there on the hustings, you just have to be who you are. Jill Vogel can be a mom. That's one of the things about Sarah Palin in the 2008 campaign. I was co-chairman of the McCain's campaign in 2008. And people say, what was Sarah Palin like? I'm like, she was authentically a mother, first and foremost. Backstage, when she's with your children and she's talking to your kids, you can see authentically that woman was a mother first and foremost. And that was so impressive.
Well,
and that transcended it.
That gives Vogel an edge. The other thing, let's bring up very quickly.
If she transmits that.
So she's also pro-gay rights. And there's not a lot of Republicans that are pro-gay rights. I am.
Except Donald Trump.
Well, I am, and Trump is, and
Best
I
thing
think
to
Andrew
happen to
is.
the Republican Party in that
But
segment.
does that? I mean, that's going to play in Northern Virginia, and I applaud her for that because I am very pro-gay rights, as everybody
And millennials.
knows. But is that going to hurt her? Is that going to hurt her with conservatives? And there's a lot of people that listen to my show that, really are upset about my position on this.
I think it's becoming less and less of an issue. How can we be the party of limited government and say that we want to be small enough for government to see through the keyhole in your bedroom door? I think it is something that is being vastly taken off the table. Donald Trump made it a non-issue this year. He took that segment or that electorate away from the Democrats. I know countless gay people that are Republican, that are conservative, except for that issue. And you take that issue off the table, they are with us 100%.
I think you're exactly right. And the issue on social conservatives, if you look at the polling, it will tell you that is going away quickly, especially the millennials. The one that's not going away, that is something you have to be very good on and very well versed in, is pro-life. That is not going away, especially in a primary.
Life and guns.
Right, and I think obviously Reeves has got that going on. Let's just get, I got 1 more minute and a half of this segment. It seems that we were talking about Glenn Davis all of a sudden getting traction, and he's now a player in this race. Is that the consensus? Here's my out question, not predicting the winner, but can Glenn Davis win
Yes.
Andrew Vehorn?
Yes. He and Mellow Yellow.
He and Mellow Yellow. Saxman.
Yeah, I think he can win.
Julian.
To quote Kevin Garnett, anything is possible.
He can win
Aaron
if he can win if he maximizes.
Gobranson. Hey, I got to get your name right. Aaron Gobranson. How's that?
He could win if he maximizes his regional strength in Virginia Beach, and the other two take each other out.
Well, and John, let me really quickly capitalize because I know we're running out of time. He can win because he's got this RV. He's going around Virginia. He's getting on the back roads, going to small towns where nobody goes, and that's going to give him experience. He's going to see things and meet people that are going to serve him well, that he's going to be able to parlay into stories in other parts of the
He's
state.
very active on social media.
Yeah. To both of those points, Glenn is an eager beaver. He's a quick study. He's got a background in local government. I think
Small business.
Right. All of those things work to his advantage.
And his wife Shelley is the greatest woman in the world.
You know what? You stole my thunder. He has a huge advantage.
Maybe a close second.
A huge advantage in spouses. And I've not met Senator Reeves' wife, and I've met Jill's husband, lawyer. But as far as spouses go, he's got a huge advantage. I mean, everybody loves Sherry. She's very outgoing. And Glenn is also very warm, kind of like Jill is. He's also got this job stump speech down. I mean, he's got the guy stays on message, and he's ended up turning himself into a halfway decent speaker. I think he's got a hell of a shot.
Well, look what came out of the presidential campaign. Rural America is being left behind in job creation and economic growth.
Yeah,
If that connects
You're
authentically
right,
in the rural regions, he could win.
There's nothing more rural
he's
than
got a
traveling
message.
around in an RV.
He does.
It worked for Bob McDonnell in 2009.
That's right.
It worked for George Allen against Mary Sue Terry.
And by the way, we're going the next time we go to Shad Planking, we're taking his RV, so I don't have to drive home. 8:58. We're out of time, but we got another segment coming up with this esteemed panel. We're going to talk about U.S. Senate 2018. Lots of candidates in that, including the gorilla in the room, Tom Davis. I'll be right back.